Stuart, turton, Stuart, turton, turton, Stuart, turton, tour.
Starting tour! Let's go! Hello!
I'm Lauren,
I'm Randy.
and this is our little book, Kooky. It's a little channel. It's a wee little channel.
It is a channel.
Here we talk about books,
Whoa!
and it is fall, and we're excited, and we're reading a crazy
Little
book.
whodunit.
This time we read The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton.
Stuart Turton, Stuart Turton. Let me tell you about Stuart Turton.
Tell me about Stuart
Let
Turton.
me tell ya. Last Murder at the End of the World is Stuart Turton's third book. He's also written The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle and The Devil in the Water. They're all kind of whodunit. Evelyn Hardcastle. I almost said Evelyn Hugo, and that's wrong. That's
I know.
literally why he changed the name to 7.5. That book is like a locked room or like a locked house. Like it could only be one of the people who's in the home. Devil in the Water is like they're on a boat, and this is on an island. So they're all kind of like a locked space.
So things are getting
whodunit.
bigger though.
Yeah.
So maybe
It'll be a locked
eventually- locked Earth.
Locked universe.
Locked universe.
Somebody in the universe committed a murder. Prior to writing full time, he was a journalist, and then he quit to write Evelyn Hardcastle, and he's like kind of famously been like terrible. Writing that book sucked so hard because they're like pretty complex books. This is something I felt like I should have maybe given you a heads up because I've read Evelyn Hardcastle, that Stuart Turton isn't a traditional whodunit type author.
No, for
He's
sure.
like, I want to write a whodunit, but what if it was sci-fi? And what if it was also dystopian? And Devil in the Water is also a historical fiction. Like, he's just kind of picking and choosing
kind of a
bits
weirdo.
of genres.
Rules? Who's ever heard of them?
Who is
Not
she?
me. I was like, what genre are we in?
Right? Because I would almost argue that Last Murder is not a whodunit.
I would say it's a dystopian.
It's a dystopian sci-fi kind of book.
It's like
for sure.
dystopian sci-fi adjacent. Tell me more about Stu.
He did an interview with Book Club Chat where they asked about his inspiration for this book. So I have a quote here.
Ooh.
It says, "For Last Murder, I knew I wanted an omniscient protagonist who could hear everyone's thoughts, and I knew I wanted a cast of characters who couldn't have possibly committed the crime. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I wanted to write a murder mystery in which my suspects didn't simply lack motive for murder, they also lacked ability." And then kind of goes on to be like, this was a very difficult concept to start with.
That's fascinating. And I have to say, fascinating that he considers, I'll get to this, but it's fascinating to consider Abby as the protagonist.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider Abby to necessarily be the main character, the narrator, but not the main character.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah, he goes on to essentially say like there isn't any particular inspiration for this book. He was just kind of started with that idea, and other ideas, he said, globbed onto it, and
I
then
love
this book
that.
came to exist.
This is my first experience with Stuart Turton, and really like the way that he writes and the way that he doesn't follow really any rules at all.
And
which is like, I mean, the beauty of storytelling.
It is,
kind of.
right?
Just
Like-
being like, I often have this thought as somebody who's just like dabbling with writing, being like, can I do that? And like, I love the audacity of a man
Yeah.
being like, I do whatever I want. I don't care.
Well, and like all his books are like that. Evelyn Hardcastle was his first book, and I remember reading it and being like, is this allowed? And I think like especially in this kind of overall bookish zeitgeist of like, I'm writing books that meet tropes and are predictable, and I'm literally marketing them based on those things. It's refreshing to read a book that doesn't care about that.
Yeah. So I guess one last thing about the book as a whole is that it's 343 pages, so it's kind of medium length for it being close to 400 pages. Fast read, I would say.
Yeah.
So plot. We are in this dystopian sort of world that is, I find all my favorite dystopian novels are like the authorities that be want it to seem like a utopian world rather than a dystopian world. And so we're on this island at the end of the world. It's established that this fog, this very dangerous fog, has taken over the earth. I know, it's kind of like have you seen the movie The Mist?
No.
It's the same idea. This like mist kind of covers the earth, and it's full of dangerous, horrible monsters.
Yeah.
And so it's
Well,
this fog is
they're
full
just
of bugs.
little bugs.
But they're like spooky bugs.
They're like fireflies. I pictured them as like being very like pretty, and then
but
you
they
like
kill
get
you.
close, and then you're
And
like,
then they
uh-oh.
kill you.
Yeah.
Very scary.
But I'm not like, ooh, spooky. It's like, that's
You would
pretty.
not believe your eyes.
If 10 million fireflies.
There are 122 people that are on this island at the end of the world that is protected by more or less a force field that's keeping the fog at bay.
Yeah.
And primarily these 122 people are villagers, but there are 3 elders who are older than everybody else. We have Hephaestus, Thea, and Niema.
We'll probably say both, sorry.
Yeah, well,
if your name is Niema or Niema, comment. Tell us how to say your name.
The elders are the oldest people in
the world.
Town, in the world.
They're the only people
in the world.
Yeah.
They're also the ones doing the science as well.
Yes.
So they're the ones that are trying to kind
They
of
got their lab coats. They got their beakers.
Anyway, the elders are the ones that are doing all the science, and they're the ones that are sort of plodding forward slowly with humanity, and the villagers are basically set to just serve and live in peace and harmony and continue to kind of like help out the community.
Yeah.
So I think probably the best way to set the tone for how this story all works is to just explain a few of the most kind of important mechanics of the book. First things first is that all the villagers, everybody outside of the 3 elders, lives to be 60 years old, and then
they just die in their sleep.
And so they often have like a funeral that they get to attend, which, can I just say, is the dream. Could you imagine being able to be a fly on the wall?
Things about
Please
me.
compliment me. The dream. I mean, the dream is obviously not to die, but the dream, if I were to die, would
nobody
be to be
can say anything mean about you that day. It's like all the bad things you've done, except they don't do anything bad because it's a perfect society.
You know, everybody sitting in the pews, did you have a crush on me? I hope so, you know? So anyway, everybody dies at 60 except for these 3 elders. We've talked about the force field that protects the island, that keeps the fog at bay. That's another really important mechanic. One of the funniest mechanics, I think, is the curfew. I feel like in dystopian novels, that's pretty common to have like a curfew where you're supposed to like be, you know, you have to be inside, you can't be roaming the streets, whatever. Yeah. But this curfew is like when it hits 9 o'clock, it's like Stardew Valley. There's that, and then I would say probably the most important mechanic is the fact that everybody can hear from and talk freely with this kind of god character.
Consciousness that is in their mind.
Just this sort of voice. Like, we never actually meet a physical form of Abby, but Abby is like this omniscient,
like, sentient being.
Yes, and all the characters still have free will, but because she's able to like talk openly and communicate with
inside their mind,
it kind of guides their morality and their decision making and stuff, and they often look to Abby for guidance because
and comfort.
It's got to be like pretty weird to be there's only 122 people left in the world, so
you just got a pal, like a Tamagotchi in your mind.
I thought that was interesting that it was considered to be like
Stuart, he considers it.
Stewie Boy considers it to be the protagonist, and I would not say that.
No, I would argue that our protagonist is Emery.
Yeah, we meet a full cast of characters. However, the main character, I think it's established pretty early, is Emery. When we wake up one morning and we're living in this utopian society that is like a place of peace and harmony.
There's been one crime ever,
and he's been exiled. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They otherwise live in harmony. The idea of like a murder is like so beyond foreign to them.
Yeah, they can't even
conceptualize that. Imagine everybody's surprise when they wake up one morning and the main warehouse in the community has been burnt down, and Niema,
arguably like the leader of the island,
her body is found, and she's been stabbed in the chest and she's been conked in the head. There's like a beam laying across her, and it's kind of a question mark, like,
how did she actually die?
How did she actually die? Did this beam actually crush her skull, or like was she murdered? And everybody's just kind of like aghast because it's like, who could murder?
Additionally, like, Niema is beloved on this island. She like lives within the villagers. She's their teacher.
Yeah, she's a teacher. It's worth noting that the other elders are like very human. Like, we actually see their like tempers and like their, you know, their really human feelings, which feels like even more stark when you contrast it with these like villagers who are
just vibing.
They're vibing. They're like, I'm ready to just go do my thing and tend the garden and do whatever I'm supposed to do, like to make sure that the greater benefit of the community is met. So anyway, Emery kind of steps out as the most inquisitive, kind of curious.
The lead investigator.
She notices things that nobody else would notice.
She's not like other girls.
She's kind of the lead investigator on this thing, and the fire that's kind of put under their butts is that not only is Emery trying to solve this murder because it's so unusual, but because Niema set up a failsafe that if she were killed, the security system around the island would fall.
Yeah, so the fog is coming.
They have days to try to solve this crime because they're like, the fog is coming, and Abby, the
voice.
omniscient voice, has basically said, I serve Niema, and like...
Even after death. I was entirely created by Niema to carry out her will.
Yeah, carry out her will and her best wishes for like humanity in general. And so I have the ability to raise the security system, but I will only do it if like balance is restored on the island, which would mean bringing the killer of Niema to justice.
Yeah.
Worth noting that everybody who's woken up from this doesn't remember anything.
Oh, yeah, they don't remember. Their memories have been wiped. And they also, a bunch of them have weird injuries like inexplicable.
Yeah,
like
so
people are waking up.
They're like, I don't know what could have caused this, where I could have been, what I could have done.
I was asleep.
I don't think I could have committed a murder.
Yeah.
But who knows? Yeah, so that's kind of where this story begins and launches into.
Yeah, an investigation.
Madness.
It's a wild ride for sure.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Did we like it?
I liked it. I didn't like it quite as much as I liked Evelyn Hardcastle. I feel like it's like a solid like 4-star for me. I think there's parts I kind of dragged, and I think we're not going to do spoilers right now. I think I was like, okay at the end.
Yeah, I would say that it was between a 4 and a 5-star for me as well. Very fun, very interesting, and I think like the fact that it really dipped into all these different genres like felt like, yeah, kind of like, is this allowed? Like, this is so cool.
Yeah,
like it's very strange, and I love a good dystopian book, so I would say like it teetered on being a 5, but maybe not quite.
Yeah.
Would we recommend it though?
I think I would. Like, if this premise is interesting to you, it's a good read for sure.
For sure. And I think like fast enough that it's worth it. I don't think that the parts that do drag, there are some parts that drag, but I don't think they're like so long that you're like, come on.
Yeah. And I think like if you just want something that you're like, I don't think I've ever read anything like this. This is a good pick for you.
I like his writing style.
He has a very like visceral writing style,
Totally.
I find.
I think there's lots of there's good stuff in here. I would super suggest it. I wouldn't say that it's the most groundbreaking, craziest book that I've ever read, but it was good.
But it's very good.
Let's spoil some
Let's
crap.
spoil
Spoil you. So if you're interested in this,
pick it up.
Pick it up. Peace out. See you later. We're gonna break the book now.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens.
Man, it's wild.
Yeah.
It was like there's a lot happening. So about midway through the book, shortly after the murder, we actually find out that the villagers are not humans.
Not humans.
I literally just Googled this and I don't remember how to say it.
Simulacrums?
Simulacrums, which is simulated people.
Yeah, they're kind of like grown off
We
of
find out
vine.
that, and then their organs are all in different places, which I thought was like really kooky. I was like, what a cool little thing. Could you imagine having a stomach like...
They're like specifically designed to like serve the island and serve the human overlord scientists, the elders.
What a crazy thing that they all get up in the middle of the night and they're like, so the curfew happens and they like, they talk about how they sometimes have things like, dirt under their nails or whatever, or they're sore, they're like extra sore or whatever. Yeah. It's because they're working.
They're literally working all night. They're working 9 to 5 and then working 5 to 9.
Sad fate for Jack. Poor man.
Yeah, so essentially through Abby, this like omniscient voice, this Abby character actually has the capacity to like take over control of the villagers' bodies. So that's why they're able to like get up and work all night, not remember it, because they're like essentially like sleeper cell vibe, just being controlled by this sentience. And we find out Emery, her husband, who died 5 years ago or whatever, he's actually just like vibing out somewhere in constant sleep state, working for the rest of time.
Just hypnotized, mining, just forever. It's like if you like leave this is cheating, but if you like leave your character with like a keystroke thing, cutting down trees or something in runes.
Yeah.
He's just going ham.
So sad.
It's very sad. There are some kind of permanent workers that are at this place called Blackheath, which is said to be like locked up.
Yeah.
For many years it's been inaccessible. All the entrances were closed up because the fog like reached it or whatever, which is not the truth.
Not the truth.
There are some peeps down there.
Niema's been telling lies.
She's been telling lies.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
She's continuing to do all the science and creating these like crazy people and like experimenting on them to see like how much control she can let Abby gain.
Yeah. She has this like deep drive to create this perfect utopia. And so she's got these like human people, not villagers, but human people like in their, you know, cryo sleep in Blackheath, waiting to come out, but she won't let them out until she knows she can control them. She's kind of like, people suck. The old world sucked. We all fought and hated each other and whatever. So if I can put my sentient consciousness into these people and also be able to suddenly control them, I can stop crime. I can stop all this other stuff.
The world can be perfect. Intent is good.
But it's insane.
It's insane. It's insane. The people who were asleep in Blackheath in cryopods or whatever, all like billionaires. So I think at a certain point in time, like they were the ones who were able to like basically buy their way into safety and to just sleep until the new world and whatever. And so in some ways, I think there's a sort of a turning point in the book where Niema is like, wait, are these the best people? Are these the best people for the job? We start to see that the simulacrums are like evolving a little bit. And so like one of the sort of like a real crux in the story is that Hui? I don't know. Hui, please pronounce this properly for us and teach us so that we don't have to be stupid going forward.
That'd be nice. We still will be stupid, just to confirm, but
hopefully not
about
like
this.
About pronunciations of names that we just don't understand. But Hui is a musician, and Niema is starting to see her have this, like, she's creating art, she's creating things that evoke beautiful emotion in people, and she goes, wait a second, are these people starting to be more people than actual people?
And like the idea that these simulacrums like couldn't create anything new, they could like replicate things, and that's what they were made to do. But Emery is questioning things. She has like individual unique thoughts, and Huey is like playing music that no one's ever heard before.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. It's like the NPC uprising. She's starting to be like, am I doing this the wrong way, etc., etc.
Are the villagers the better hope for humanity?
Emery basically going around like the Spider-Man meme, just being like,
is it you
did it.
It's exactly like the scene from The Office.
Really?
It wasn't me. I'm not going down for this!
Later on in the book, I thought it was quite a funny thing, like as she's discovering that perhaps the villagers would be a better hope for humanity, a lot of them are acting very sacrificially because you said there's only like
61 villagers can survive, which is exactly half. There's only like supplies and space for half.
So a lot of them are like, well, I'll go, it's fine, like I want to do what's better for the community.
I'm gonna die soon.
But even like further than that, it's like they're all in that cart at the end and they're trying to figure out like who is it that killed Niema? Because if we can rectify that and execute the person who did it, then, you know, the shield and whatever will go back up. And so there's so many people that are like, well, then it had to be me. I think I was the one who killed her because this is my motive and I would have done that. And they're all very willing to like take the fall.
Oh, it smells like updog in here. Who farted?
Darling, it was definitely me. I had a cheesy gordita crunch last night.
Maybe it was me. I've never farted before, but I think I could try.
It's probably me. The ladies love my natural musk.
Well, it had to be me. I mean, I can't even keep a mustache on. What makes you think I can hold my bum cheeks together? I shouldn't have asked.
They are really probably the better hope.
100%, That scene on the cable car is the most tense of the book. Like for sure the climax, it's like Emery, her daughter, and her dad are on this gondola. It gets stuck, the fuse blows.
And the fog is coming.
The fog is like literally reaching up the sides of the cable car, so they go up onto the roof.
It's stressful.
Yeah, it's very stressful. The fog hits them. And she's like,
ends up being fine.
This is fine.
And they go, wait a second. We've evolved to be fine.
And we're not human. I don't even know if it was that they've evolved to be fine. I wonder if they just were never impacted by the fog at all. And they had to hold it back for the elders. They just like are made of different stuff. They're quite literally.
Different stuff. It just is such a funny climax to the book.
It is. And you find out like Niema knew all along and specifically put this failsafe on to bring in the fog to kill all the elders and like let them,
the villagers, have free reign of Earth, etc.
I think it's important to talk about the string of like suspects, like starting I think probably with Hephaestus. You've kind of been led to think that Hephaestus attacked Neema. Why was this the working theory? Was it that he knew
that she lied to everybody or something?
I wonder was it that Hephaestus knew that she was like trying to give over to the
We're really putting
villagers?
our one brain cell to work right now.
This is maybe like a complaint I had about the story is things would happen and I'd be like, wait,
what?
what?
Yeah.
And maybe we just need to get some critical thinking up in here, but I didn't have any.
It did have moments of like kind of convolution.
Yeah.
I have the fog.
Yeah, literally. I have 10 million fireflies. I think that it's a Hephaestus knew that Neema was planning on like knocking out humanity.
Yeah.
And so they think that Hephaestus then killed her because he's like, I don't super want to die.
Well, also he's large.
The kind of damning piece of evidence for Hephaestus is that Hephaestus attacks Emery and like stabs her in like the sternum, which is like higher than you'd stab someone normally. If I'm stabbing you, I'm not like, I'd
it's
be
higher
like,
than
whoa.
you would stab me, but it's not higher than I would stab
Exactly.
you.
So the height difference, and Emery's like, that's a weird place to stab somebody, and Neema had a stab in the same spot.
Yeah.
So it must have been Hephaestus. And then he like did all this other stuff to cover up, to try and get rid of the body by burning it, etc., etc., etc. Hephaestus puts on his little memory hat. It kills him because that's what it does, but they get a little rock and they watch it, and it's actually revealed that Neema attacks Hephaestus first. He like replies by stabbing her, and then the villagers like all gang up on
and
Hephaestus.
that isn't what actually kills her.
Yeah,
at
because
all.
Thea's there and helps Neema.
Yeah, Thea and Neema have the final argument, right? And then it is revealed later that Neema actually killed herself.
Yeah.
Which is like the whole entire time I was very sus about Abby. I felt like a little bit like I don't know if I believe that any of these villagers necessarily did it.
Yeah.
Because my biggest suspect is like, this like omniscient guy.
Yeah. Well, I feel like right at the beginning, I'm like, oh, there's an omniscient voice in everyone's head who like can impact their thoughts. Cause it's like anyone who's talking to you like is going to impact and manipulate the way you think, whether that's good or bad.
Yeah.
And so it's like, right from the beginning, I was like,
sus. How soon did you know that 5:5 was a Bible verse?
It was so fast.
So fast, right? This Christian girly book club, this channel.
It's like obvious.
Right away, the way that it's written, right? And I was like, it's like, what does this mean? 5:5. And I was like, oh, it must be a Bible verse.
Yeah, obviously.
Especially because there's like a few times where they talk about Bibles being littered throughout, and I was like, you guys.
Yeah,
like,
guys. I guess like, I don't know.
That's that Christian girly perspective.
That's a Christian girly perspective. If I was a mathematician, I'd be like, weird ratio. I'm not a mathematician though. That's why I run a book YouTube.
I'd be like,
I don't want to be the
math channel.
I have one Lauren and one Randy. How many total people do we have?
I am
Randy?
I am
Lauren?
Randy, and we are not the same person.
That's questionable because it's only one
person.
That's
Yeah.
pretty much all that happens, right? What happens in the epilogue?
The epilogue is when Emery's talking to Abby, and then she's like, I have a feeling you manipulated all of this. And, and Abby's like, someone would have had to plan that for a very long time. Abby is like kind of a plant.
Yeah.
It has a plant body.
Like the in Mario plant head with a piranha.
A piranha plant?
Yeah, sure. And it barfs paint in Super Mario Sunshine. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, yes. I pictured Abby as a cell phone tower, but it's a plant. The ending me that Abby is like, I'm gonna die now, essentially, and you guys are on your own. I've given you all that you need. She's like feeding information to people so that they can use all this equipment that's in Blackheath, and then she's like, deuces, and she fades out of existence.
And I leave the book feeling like this. What?
I feel like I was so all in right up until it was like, it was Neema all along, and I was like, oh, that's boring. I don't know that any other ending would have made sense with the book because it's so, at its core, not a murder mystery and is a dystopian about this idea of like, what is a utopia and how can we make this perfect?
And what are people?
And what are people?
And what is humanity?
And so I don't think there's another ending that makes sense, but I was still like, you know, I feel like if there had been a very loose hint pre-epilogue that it was like Emery had like a question about Abby's involvement, that would have been enough for me.
Yeah.
I think maybe the epilogue is just a bit too in your face, like it was the plant all along.
Yeah.
Now let's see if our mystery ghost diver is really Ebenezer Sharp.
That's the book. Your song.
Okay, I have two. I'll give you my serious one first.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the song March to the Sea by 21 Pilots.
Love it.
The song kind of tells a story. Like, it doesn't really have a recurring chorus or anything, about somebody who's on this island kind of blindly following the people in front of them, and then a voice comes out and is like, don't do that, follow this other way instead.
Wow, that's crazy.
And so,
Like written for this book.
yeah, as we near the end of land, our ocean graves are just beyond the sand. I ask myself the question why I fall in line. The end is take me up, seal the door. I don't want to march here anymore. I realize this line is dead. I'll follow you instead. You put me back in my place so I might start another day.
It's a great choice for this book.
Yeah.
Dang.
Very
that's
Emery,
cool.
like following, but being like, why am I following?
Yeah.
I do have a second choice.
Is it a joke song?
It's a joke song.
Okay.
And I picked this very early on. It's the Animal Crossing theme song. Banger. I was like, Niema is Isabel, and Tom Nook is Hephaestus, and Thea is Blathers doing her science off by herself, and all the villagers are just vibing. I was like, this is literally the first half of the story is just Animal Crossing.
That's actually so funny.
Yeah, what is your song?
Well, now I think it's Fireflies by Owl City. I picked, it's called Low Town by the Deer Hunter. The chorus is like, we're held beneath the monolith of their manipulation. We exist entangled in creation. Hypocrites too often make decisions raring to quote a god. Raised routinely to believe we've a narrowed purpose we can't contravene. Blessed is the obligation, anything unique is blasphemy. They need more mouths to feed. Some of us fall off the path, make our decisions never looking back. Autonomy is short-lived, they don't forgive, and so we're damned by autocrats to feed the mouths in need. Like
That's a very good choice.
It's very good, and like vibe-wise, it also fits really well.
Yeah.
I do have to credit my husband for helping me pick this song. We liked it for the most part.
Yeah, I have some complaints, but not enough to say that it is not worth reading.
If you can, take your time with it, because I think it's convoluted enough that there are places where you may have to go back and be like, what? But yeah, overall, really good. And I can't wait to read 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
what else are you up to lately?
I just got on to Throne and Liberty, new MMO. I'm living my best life doing that. For reading, I'm trying to find books that scare me here in the spooky months of the year, and I'm having not very much success.
I feel like books don't scare me. I'm like, you want me to be scared of words? They're just words.
They're just words on a page. I don't know, I'm unfazable, which is so funny because in every other area of my life, extremely phased. What about you? What have you been doing?
For reading for myself, I'm partway through Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune.
Me too.
After going to a book signing with him, it was very, very cool. I have some books I borrowed from you, one for my enemy, and Dungeons and Drama. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, give us really good book recommendations heading into the kind of like crisper fall season.
Also,
do you have a crisp book?
How crisp are your books?
How crisp are your books? Give us a crisp book
If your name is a name that we said wrong, we're sorry. Tell us how to say it.
Please.
Forgive us.
I'm just a girl. I don't know how to say
it's
words.
so confusing sometimes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Dopamine blast us, baby.
Blast us?
Blast us with your dopamine.
Blast us with your big D. D for dopamine, Randy.
Obviously.
Don't get it twisted.
I'm sorry. Solve a local murder and have a good week, month, life. Bye.